Cash. Los Angeles.
Rock and roll. My money.
When will they stop?
Well, now.
Long Beach, clear skies.
And now, on with the show.
It is Mornings on the Beach for your Saturday. Here we are with you again, and what's left of you again. All over the city, devastation. All we're seeing, smelling has been fire this week, and we're here to sort of put our spin on it, and also to provide you with information. Are you ready if you need to evacuate? Do you think you are?
I am not.
Well, we'll find out. If you're listening and you have that answer that Mike had, stick right here. We're going to have a very special guest on the phone with us in a few to talk about, emergencies and responding to them. Because, boy, did we hear about people having to get out that never thought they would have to get out of their homes in the last week. It's been something else, right? Yeah. Have you been watching online? I can't keep up with it. I try to turn it off after a while because I think...
I check in periodically.
I check in and see.
Yeah, I do too. It just gets depressing after a while. And you turn on the TV and every channel is locked on there. All the programming's been wiped out and they're covering the event.
That's all they're doing,
Yeah, and it's kind of, from a media's point of view, it's kind of interesting to flip around to the different coverages and watch how they do it and the different techniques and stuff. That's inside baseball stuff.
Normally, I tend to like live events because you're connected.
Right.
Mm-hmm. They feel connected anyway, like live basketball games or live football, but not this.
No.
This is like one of those, whoa.
It's heartbreaking.
And a conflagration of different reasons why this happened. Of course, you all know by now the wind and the fire danger was high, and all it took was one ember or whatever. Hopefully, we're recording this a couple of days in advance, but hopefully by now we at least know some semblance of how this started.
Yeah.
That's a big question. But the big question for me is always being ready. Are you ready to get out? And we'll talk about a challenge that I want to introduce to our listeners. When we get through with our guest here on the phone, we invited someone to be with us who knows a little bit about responding to an emergency. Somebody I know that knows a little bit more than me regarding emergency response. We're talking about being ready in case you needed to evacuate. And we were just talking a minute ago about how most people aren't ready for an immediate evacuation. And I'm asking the question to our guest here on the phone with us is John Jost, who's the Assistant Director for Facilities and Maintenance at Cal State Long Beach. I worked with John for many years. And he's also with the CERT program in Long Beach. He's a volunteer, the Community Emergency Response Team.
Wow.
And I thought, what a perfect person to ask about being ready for an evacuation.
Right.
So, John, have you ever had to evacuate yourself?
Well, actually, we had a bomb threat on campus yesterday, and they made us all go home.
No kidding. So
I'm not sure if you heard about that.
I didn't. Oh, no.
I read about it.
Oh, no. So you had
there was a bomb threat in one of the buildings on campus. They initially evacuated that building and did a general campus announcement about, sheltering in place and staying away from that side of campus.
Yeah.
And then within an hour, they had secured that side of campus, and then basically we shut down all of our buildings and sent everybody home.
Wow.
Yeah.
So other than that, you've never had to get out of your home for an emergency or for a flood or a fire?
No, I've been fortunate in that respect. I mean, I've had to leave work on short notice a few times.
That's not so bad.
But home has always been my safe space, and I haven't had to evacuate it yet.
Wow. So because you know something about this, and telling tales out of school, John and I worked on some plans there on campus for providing students with information for emergencies. But you're also a member of the CERT team. Explain what that is to people that may not know.
Well, the CERT program is actually a federally recognized program that falls under FEMA guidelines. And what it does is it allows a jurisdiction, whether it be a city, a school, a county, to put together a group of volunteers And like you said, it's a community emergency response team. And so they have a training that is, and it's usually over a period, several days. I think when I went through it, it was, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So, 24 hours. And, but I know sometimes they'll do, 2 or 3 hours on a Wednesday night, for however many weeks. Nowadays, you can do it all online, or not all of it, a good chunk of it online. But once you've completed the online portion, they have you come in for a skills review and testing. And not so much testing, but practicing. So during all of that, you're doing learning how to do assessments of areas, how to do triage for medical type incidents.
Wow.
They teach you how to do block and tackle for lift. Like if you come to a situation and you've got a large item, whether it be a vehicle or something, on top of a person, how to get underneath it and lift it off so you can pull that person out. The Long Beach CERT program has a great training. They even bring us it's at the Fire Training Center with the fire department, and they bring us into a room that they actually use for fire training and the firefighters use. And the room is completely pitch black, and you're with a group of 4 or 5 people, and even though it's completely dark, you have to scan the room without flashlights in the dark, find anybody that's in there and get them out without getting lost in the dark room yourself.
Wow.
So
it's actually pretty interesting.
And anybody can go through the training, right?
You're saying?
Anyone can go through the training?
Anyone can do the training. Yeah, I mean, I don't live in Long Beach, but since I worked in Long Beach, and actually Cal State Long Beach, the emergency manager here on campus had actually worked with the CERT program to get a training for a group of people from campus to go through, and we did this several years ago at that point, and it was a great opportunity to learn a lot more and to get involved. At the end of the training, they set you up with a backpack that's got a hard hat, a vest, and a lot of the information stuff that you need, and then you're on their contact list. So when they have needs in the community, they'll reach out to you. Like there's a lot of things that go on that aren't necessarily disasters that affect the whole city.
Right.
They had a few years back, they had the issues with I think there was water in one part of the city, and so they were actually helping. They had groups of people that were CERT volunteers would come out and assist with helping the people that were in the areas that were affected by either bringing water around to them or helping get people out to areas where they could get the water. During COVID, they enlisted a lot of us to come out and help with the COVID checkpoints for not checkpoints, but the vaccination lines, getting people through and getting them vaccinated and stuff like that. So it's a great way to get involved in the community and to be involved in this type of thing, as well as have the ability to help out others when they get in those situations, but also learn about what we can do individually and as groups and families to be able to be prepared ourselves.
Yeah, John, let me ask you this. Is there something in place that when, say, an emergency of a big nature happens, an earthquake or something, how do they activate you? How do they activate this group at this point?
Yeah.
Well, so the CERT program, we will get notifications by either text message, cell phone calls, emails from the people that manage the program,
right?
To let us know when to activate and when to come in. There are one of the things that we've done also is we have a number of our members that have gone through ham radio training and are now licensed to use ham radios, so we can communicate with each other outside. So if power goes down and phone lines go down and we can't use our cell phones,
right,
we can still use the ham radios to communicate with each other, as well as to communicate back with our emergency operations center to get information and send information about what's going on in different parts of the city.
Wow. And don't forget, you have a radio station here at
Right.
99.1 in case you need us. But I think our instructions are get out of the way and let the bigger signals broadcast when it's an emergency of that nature?
Well, and there's no way to, there's always ways to help, whether you're small or large. I mean, just, as a, a person that lives in a location that has information and resources, sharing that with the people that you're with and helping them, a lot of times it's just allowing them to have the comfort of knowing that we have the information and that helps on the way. But the big thing with disasters like that is if you can't get out, or if you have to stay in your location and wait for resources, depending on the magnitude of the disaster, it could be 3 days before help arrives. Sure. So you have to make sure that you're prepared, no matter where you are, to be able to get through those 3 days.
I mean, it's a disaster in my house when DoorDash can't deliver in half an hour. So I can hardly imagine. And now for I want to say your opinion as a parent, as a grandparent, when it comes time to leave. Now, I hadn't thought about it, but you might not even be home when you have to be evacuated from your home. But what do people normally forget about if they have to evacuate? Do you have any idea of things that people can take note of if they ever have to evacuate themselves?
There's a lot of things that people don't think about. People don't think about their pets.
Oh.
That's something that's important, is do you have like for me in my car, I have the things that I know that I think that I might need to get me through. It's in the trunk of my car. I've got it ready, to respond before a CERT call out. But then I also, you keep an extra pair of clothes in there, you keep some water, you keep some granola bars and all that. But if I needed to go, I could go. But if I were evacuating and I needed to be able to have 3 days supplies for my pet, a lot of times they think about the family unit, but they don't think about their pets. And that's something that could be catastrophic for somebody, because your pets are, for a lot of people I know, family.
Family,
right,
absolutely.
Right.
To be out somewhere and not have the resources that you need to take care of your pet, whether it be extra food, extra water, or what they need to get them through as well. I mean, they're your comfort and support, but you need to be theirs as well. Yeah.
I mentioned earlier a challenge that I want to issue to the audience, and this is a good enough time to get to it because you mentioned part of it here. The other day I thought, I'm prepared. I think for an earthquake or whatever. I have go bags ready for my animals. Cats and dogs. I have everything I need for 3 days with them. And I also have a go bag near my bed for me with the extra pair of underwear and socks and an extra pair of old jeans and all that stuff. So I like thinking myself as ready. However, I decided, let's pretend that I'm getting a call right now to evacuate within 5 minutes. Can I get out? And the thing was, I set a timer. Then I gathered what I thought I needed, and headed for the car. That was my goal. Get to the car in 5 minutes. Can I do that? I couldn't find the cats, right? I didn't think about that. I'd have to corral the cats into the boxes. Then I have 2 boxes and a dog. How do I move all those things at once? So now I have a wagon set up next to my front door so I can expand it, put the 2 cat carriers in there, because guess what? The cat carriers were in the garage when I started the challenge. So there was time wasted getting the cat carriers down from the garage. So I wasn't ready for a quick evacuation. Try it at home if you can.
Right.
Can you get your whole family out in 5 minutes? You might have 10, but don't expect you're going to have a lot of time.
Something that might help with the pets is I put a tile tracker on mine.
Oh, good idea. My God.
Sometimes
good
the
thinking.
Cats like to hide.
Yeah, I don't
that's where
think
mine went.
I wouldn't be able to get
The bonus
my
of that
cat.
is you can hit the button on your phone and you can make that tile tracker start chirping.
Oh, and you can find them.
Okay.
And you can find them.
Okay, I'm going to buy one as soon as we get done with the show.
Well, and then I always wondered about cash. Like, should you have cash on you?
You know,
in case
I
the
didn't have it
internet's
either.
down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if you can't get to the bank machine?
Yeah, I mean, $100 in small bills, you know what I mean, might go a long way if the internet's down.
That's a good point.
And the bank machine might not even work.
It might
all
not.
that stuff.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Do you have that? And do you have a radio with batteries in it at home?
What's a radio?
Let's start there.
Right.
But it was interesting to me that I didn't have fresh batteries in the radio. So when I put it on to think, okay, that's part of my step. I want to be listening to the news as I'm getting to the car. Didn't have batteries in. Change that right up. But all those things we don't think about. But John, you bring a good point about your pets because they are family, and we don't prepare adequately for our families.
Batteries are important, and having like a spare charger, a portable charger for your cell phone.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Actually, my favorite flashlight is rechargeable, and it can also be used as a battery for my backup for my phone.
Perfect.
Oh, cool.
That's great. Yeah, I got a crank generator for the radio, so you can crank the radio. I bought one of those. First of all, I should make sure I look at the dimensions. It was about 2 inches. It's tiny, but it's going to work in an emergency. I tested it. So just having those things and having them ready, like you said, Melanie, I'm going to put some cash in my go bag. I don't have any cash in there. We do have a jug of wine because that's important.
You got to get through the night.
Exactly. I'll be the hit of the camp when I get there. Well, anyway, John, thank you so much for joining us today. I know that there's been a lot going on this week regarding, I didn't realize there had been a panic at campus. So glad to hear about that and that it was resolved. But thank you so much for joining us. And
not a problem at all. I appreciate that.
Oh, well, anytime. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
All right. Take care.
Take care, man. Bye-bye now. He's great. Isn't he great?
Oh, yeah.
He's a go-to guy. He's always ready and prepared. That's why I like to hear about what's in his trunk, because I'm going to get home. It's not in the trunk. It should be. I don't know why the go bags aren't in the trunk. Maybe because I don't have a trunk. But but in the car at least, because those minutes are precious. Yeah. Have you ever had to evacuate, Melanie, from anything?
Oh, I did once. When I was a kid, I was living on Molino right next to the Morningland Church. If you're from if you're old school Long Beach, I lived next door to them. And one morning I was watching cartoons, and the fire department knocked on the door and said, "Oh, there's a bomb next door. You got to go." So we just walked away and just went to a friend's house and hung out there all day. Yeah. And that was back when bombs were not happening every day. Wow. I mean, that was whenever 80 something.
Yeah, you probably think differently about it now, right?
Yeah, we just grabbed our stuff, changed our clothes, and walked out. But
I had to get out once in the 70s, Laurel Canyon, once for a flood, which was dramatic because when I looked out the door, there were Volkswagens sailing down the road.
Oh, yikes.
And I went the other way. I went up and over.
Seems like a good idea.
Yeah, because going down seemed like a risky business. The road was partially washed out, but I made it. And when I came through, the cops had blockaded off of Sunset Plaza Drive and asked me, "How'd you get through?" And I said, "I just came over the hill." Apparently it was supposed to be blocked off and it wasn't. So, But once in a fire. And that's where I got the information I just gave John, which was I had 5 minutes. And the guy says, "No, you cannot grab anything but your wallet, your keys. If you have a dog, grab them and let's go."
See, I think I always assumed that you'd know, like, the fire's coming closer, so you better get ready.
I was asleep. I didn't know it was coming over the hill.
Wow.
That was scary. You wake up and your room's full of smoke and somebody's banging on the door. Yeah, whoa, that was much.
Well, this one, I mean, I went the night before last. I went to sleep and it was windy and I woke up and everything was on fire. You know, when all these fires started.
No, trust me. It's Mornings on the Beach. Once again, reacting to the fires that have been in our city, and a big part of the news. At the same time, just doing things that we need to do to be ready. And that's kind of the theme for this first part of the show. And then, of course, whenever I look at the music library that we have compiled, I find a song that might be appropriate. And this one couldn't be more appropriate for where we're at right now. Yeah. It's a Bruce Springsteen song, and
it's called "My City in Ruins."
Oh,
yeah.
My City of Ruins, Bruce Springsteen.
Wow.
Yeah.
You always find and Mike puts the songs up on our drive there, and I sort of found it when this is so perfect for what we're going to talk about today. It certainly fits in. But in the natures of emergencies in town, there's also ones that are not quite like emergencies, but they do cause panic.
Yeah, for sure.
And Melanie's got that story about what might be causing that panic for you if you're on the roads, right?
Well, as you know, we're a car culture. And I really got to say again, you have to read the Long Beach Post because it's really local, significant news. And that's where I caught this, which was where should the trucks go when the Vincent Thomas Bridge closes?
Good question.
Good question.
Into the ocean. Yeah, get rid of them.
So they're looking for community information from the community as far as where to reroute traffic when they close the Vincent Thomas Bridge, which is going to be, they said, somewhere in 25, 26. It'll be closed partially or entirely for 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
And there was a meeting. There have been several meetings from the community. And if you go to Long Beach Post, there's a questionnaire both in English and Spanish about ideas for rerouting that traffic because they need to repair the concrete underneath. So it's going to be a big pain in the butt. But it's one of those things you got to do, right? You got to do so that we're not into that catastrophe story.
So so what suggestions could come from the public, like come down my street?
Yeah, right. I don't know.
Avoid my street, please.
Stay home. Work from home. It's so hard to be such a car dependent culture like we are because it's huge.
Yeah, and there's enough, I guess, traffic in the mornings when they take the route out of the port at 10 o'clock. And then if you happen to be unlucky enough to coming this way after 2 o'clock, they're on this side of the road. But wow. So
I lived on the 710 for many years. I was on the 710 an hour each way. And it's the trucks that they're concerned about. And that's partially the why the bridge is so damaged is the weight of the trucks. And it's a 60-something-year-old bridge.
Yeah, I think the 710 is probably going to be the most impacted because you come down the 110, if you're a trucker, you come down the 110, you can't get to the port because the bridge will be closed. So all of the trucks that come down the 110 now have to come down the 710.
Oh, good.
Well, and I saw Caltrans several months ago talking about the 710 and saying, don't worry, traffic won't be disrupted.
That's when you should worry.
Oh, please.
Listen, coming down here today,
sneeze.
I have tons of trucks on all sides of me right now.
Yeah.
So you add another load of trucks that normally would be coming down the 110, it's going to be a mess.
Yeah, I think we should reroute them through Catalina.
Yeah, there we go.
What do you do? Do you employ helicopters to move this cargo? What do you do? Oh my God!
And there's growth. The growth at the port too. The port is increasing in size. So,
and I think we're going to be impacted here on the Long Beach side, but I think the real impact is going to be in San Pedro, who we serve. This station serves San Pedro.
Oh, I love San Pedro.
Yeah. But they're going to have all sorts of traffic problems beyond the port issues.
Right.
Just people coming and going from San Pedro. There's only one way in and one way out as it is.
Yeah. And, although this is a great place for rant, right? We can rant about it. At the same time, I like to be concerned with solutions. So we're going to come out of this with what? More improved roads? Is that the point of the whole thing?
Well, the bridge is going to be safer, right? So it's necessary infrastructure for sure. Yeah.
Because we're talking about, remember that bridge where is it Philadelphia they knocked over?
Right.
Yeah.
Baltimore, wasn't it?
Baltimore.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a good lesson for
dramatic.
infrastructure. Oh yeah, and that can happen like 1, 2, 3 on a Saturday morning.
So planning like this is better than looking back and going, why didn't anybody do the repairs on the bridge?
Yeah.
Right. So the right thing is being done. It's just going to be mighty inconvenient.
I wonder where Ocean Avenue ranks on the list of projects to improve, because while all the other streets in downtown Long Beach are now getting repaved and they look wonderful and repainted, Ocean Boulevard,
Ocean's
tragic, full of potholes.
Really?
And now they're filled in, but you still bumpity. What the heck? Why don't they? That's like a main thoroughfare. Does it belong to the feds? Is that why they don't fix it? I don't understand why they don't spend any money.
I don't know.
To fix that street, or either that or the residents won't allow it. Who knows? But it's all about that zip code, like where you live.
Sure.
But at the same time, the 90762 or whatever, the 26, the Pacific Palisades zip code. At one point, one of the primary zip codes, you want to live there. And wow, just amazing what can happen in the course of one night right here.
Yeah.
Just some fanning the flames. Yeah. But speaking of good news, we had some relatively, I classified it as good news coming from our Surgeon General. And if you don't know him, Vivek Murthy has been our Surgeon General for quite a while now, and he's leaving office. And he gets to write a letter to the nation about their health, right? And he talked about what was important to him. He said, during my 2 terms of Surgeon General, I've grappled with a central question. What are the deeper root causes of the pain and unhappiness I encounter so often across our country? Wow. Talk about an important thing that rarely gets discussed. He put this in his letter saying goodbye to the country. And he said, answering this question is urgent because the status quo is harming our physical and mental health.
Absolutely.
And robbing us of our optimism and contributing to division and polarization. He's knocking this all right on the head.
Yeah.
These are well-known contributors to stress and discontent, economic hardship, worries about the future, the negative headlines that dominate our feeds. But even when these and other issues are addressed, there's often something still missing. And what does he think that is? Relationships.
Yeah.
He said relationships keep us grounded and bonded to each other. Service, from formal volunteering to informal small acts of kindness, is about helping each other. And purpose gives our life a sense of direction and meaning. Together, these elements, relationships and purpose, form the triad of fulfillment. He's talking about relationship, service, and purpose.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Well, it's wonderful now that it's just accepted that mental health and physical health are inseparable.
Yeah.
Right? That those relationships help your physical health and it's
Right.
all the same being.
Yeah, we're trying to make that connection
Yeah.
to that, the wellness in our country and some of the ills of our country. And then he offers us, so he says, now that may sound like a lot to you. What? How do I impact that? But he said, we can take one action each day to help someone. Just one action. We can reach out to one friend each day to check on them. Or we can be more intentional about having conversations with friends and our children about how we cultivate purpose. What is important? What do we teach our children is important. And he says, looking around the country now, he says, we teach our children about money, status, and possessions as important. And we need to shift that as a country. And we can do this one step at a time, especially if you have children or grandchildren. You can make a difference with them about what do they think is important. Happily, my father thought being happy and having family around you was the most important thing that could happen in your life. Didn't matter how much money you had.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm happy. And I failed on the second one. I don't have family. No, I didn't have any children. But I do have a lot of nieces and nephews, and I have a good, healthy relationship with my family, and that is important. So
Totally.
do you do that every day? Do you manage to reach out maybe once a week to a friend you haven't spoken to in a while and cultivate that friendship?
Right.
It's just a matter of you have to spend time with it.
Right.
Yeah, and I checked in with a friend of mine this week who I haven't spoken to in a while, and she had surgery recently, so we were able to catch up on how that was going because I had the same surgery. It was just made me feel good. And it took no more time than it normally would take to drive to the grocery store. Isn't that when most people call you? Is when they're in the car.
Right.
But I'll take it if that's checking in, right? And checking in with your friends.
I did that with a friend the other day, and then she stopped by at my house and hung out and chatted for about half an hour, and then went on with her. We both went on with our day, and it was lovely, and it mattered.
It does, doesn't it?
It matters.
You really feel like I've connected. I've maintained a friendship that I had sort of just let be there for a while. At the same time, it automatically draws you to the ones, your friends or so-called friends that don't take the effort or aren't making the effort. And you can say, you can try, but you can't change leopard spots.
Right.
You can't really.
That's
so
an important lesson,
Some
too.
people don't want to be reached out to, or they're just no big deal. And I'll let this go. But a wonderful thing I learned in the last couple of months is that some people are meant to come in and out of your life, not to be held on to.
Yeah.
Right.
I was just saying that yesterday to the same friend. We're like, people come in and out, and it serves a purpose in a moment, and then it doesn't later, and it's just the way it is.
And I'm always hanging on to something that was great about that relationship that I think I can recreate. And there's nothing more insane than trying to recreate a moment that's already passed.
Sure.
Yeah,
So
right.
honoring it is a different thing. Like to say, I missed that. That was fun.
Yeah.
Not to want to create it. And that's what makes serial killers.
That was a jump.
Well, I'm watching what's his name, Jeffrey Dahmer, and how he didn't want to let people go. That's the reason he started killing them, is because he wanted them to lay next to them in bed. Ooh, that's all spooky stuff.
What? Wait. wait, we just took a terrible
I know. I took a huge right turn.
Yeah,
I wanted to see if you were listening.
I was listening. Unfortunately, I was listening.
It's mornings on the beach, and sometimes we'll make that turn anyway. However, this week, I think the other thing that dominated my thoughts was that the Justice Marsh in charge of giving Trump a sentence, right? Mecklin, is that his name? Judge Mecklin? Yeah. He decided that he was going to sentence Trump, but he's not going to impose any jail time or incarceration time. And half the country went crazy. You know which half? Going insane because nothing's going to happen to him.
Ever.
But then you start to look below the surface and you realize the judge had a great message. He said he wants to make sure he sticks that tag, convicted felon, around Trump's neck before he gets into office, because if we wait and he doesn't sentence the president previous to his term, anything can happen, including wiping it out altogether, and he will have gotten away with it scot-free. So the only thing that Judge Mecklin can do is to finish the process started back when the jury decided he was guilty, and sentence him. Even if it imposes no time, the sentence is effective, and it will stay with him for the rest of his life. Yeah. He can begin his appeals if he wants to, but at the same time, he will always be a convicted felon. So I got to say, looking deeper than just the headline, I found out, well, I can hang with that.
Yeah, it's a symbolic thing more than anything else.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm over the symbolic thing.
Well, you're going to have to get used to it, Melanie.
No, I am
Sorry.
used to it. I am used to it. And I wonder why he doesn't have to register as a sex offender.
You know, maybe not yet.
You know?
Maybe not yet, but maybe that's part of it.
That would be interesting to not let children tour the White House because there's a sex offender there.
Oh, wow.
Right?
That would certainly send a message. That's for sure.
Message with messages. That was instead of swearing.
Yeah. However.
By the way.
Yeah, and that's a good point. We need to find out more about that one, whether or not he would have to register.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that wasn't a criminal, that part wasn't a criminal trial, but they still found him liable of sexual abuse or whatever,
right.
So.
Did they find him liable of rape, though? That was the thing. I don't think so,
no,
right?
They didn't.
No, it was a different word.
Yeah.
They didn't use that, but it was assault, but it wasn't rape specifically, but you can have to be registered without committing rape.
Yeah, and that was
It's
a civil case as well.
That was a civil case, so that was a thing. But if you're going to stick him with all the nasty titles, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, that would be really great to see what happens with that. Yeah, but that's one of the things that we'll have to wait and see how that works out.
But it's not going to,
The first, we'll know by Friday. We'll know by the time you hear this.
It won't matter in the big
what
picture.
the sentence is, or the judgment is. So, convicted felon is the first time we'll swear one into office. That's for sure.
That he can't vote for himself.
He would try.
Yeah, but you can't even think of all, Think of the way that not allowing felons to vote has been used to disenfranchise communities.
Yeah.
Right, and now we got one running the country.
Yeah. Yeah, and once again, you have the keys. You giving the keys to a convicted felon. Yeah, how do you feel about that? But it's something that, like I said before, just keep yourself still, keep doing your thing, and then eventually it'll be over. 4 years from now, we'll be deep in the Olympics, and it'll be over.
Stock up on the gummies.
Yeah. and focus on the Olympics coming to L.A.
Right.
That's probably the smartest thing you can do if you live here. Anyway.
Well, I've actually been worried about all these fires and Trump's threat to cut off blue states.
I thought about that. Like, if he was president now, would we be under emergency management at the moment?
Right. And who's running FEMA? Hulk Hogan? I mean, who is it now? Really? Right?
Good question. Yeah.
Right? Because with Bush, it was the horse show guy, right? Remember that?
Yeah.
So this ought to be good.
Michael, what was his name? Scott or something? Oh, no, that was The Office. But just as an actor, that's
right,
for sure.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, on Sunday mornings, we're followed by Mike's show, LA Radio Session.
Yeah, at 10 o'clock. We're on at 8, and then at 10 o'clock's LA Radio Sessions.
Right.
This week, we got a woman on that is kind of well known for something else, but she's a musician, singer-songwriter, but she gained her fame as a TV writer. She wrote the Emmy Award-winning Ellen Coming Out episode. She was one of the co-writers on that.
That was significant.
And then she was the developer of According to Jim, that show that was on for several years. Well, and what happened was she did that for 2 years, and the show continued, but she retired. Once it hit syndication, she said to herself, I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm going to go after my dream. I'll have plenty of money coming in from the syndication, so I'm going to follow my dream. And since then, she's been doing a lot of club dates and a lot of other things. And I got a chance to interview her a few years ago, and she was an absolute delight to interview. And she did some songs for me in the studio. So this is one of the songs that she did that day, and it's one of her more well-known tunes.
This is the key to a good relationship. A very good deed.
Yay!
If you are interested in that kind of relationship, you can find me at Melanie at
There's never been a more appropriate song for this
I don't know how to make
show.
a martini.
I'll teach you. Oh, that's great, Mike.
Sunday morning, 10 o'clock, LA radio sessions.
The whole interview will be there. I'll look forward to it. I've been cleaning my house listening to the radio station on Sunday mornings, and LA radio sessions is great. I love it so much. So thanks for that, Mike. Mornings on the Beach right here with Danny Lemos.
Mike Stark.
Melanie Rae.
We finally get to introduce ourselves midway. I say almost over with the show.
Yeah, right.
However, today, looking through the headlines and the grab bag sort of thing I'm looking at, one thing I found this week is that science has grown a human spine in a lab.
So there's hope for Republicans.
I'd say that would apply to Democrats more than Republicans.
Hope for mankind.
Yeah, they're able to do that now, according to the Francis Crick Institute of London. They took the challenge to heart to develop one, and they found a way to do it. And you're right, maybe they can implant them in politicians. That would be a good thing. I like to find good stories to bring to the radio.
Right.
That's a positive.
Yeah, that's one good. Here's another one. You want to make some money? Got an Apple phone? Sorry, Mike. You're excluded.
Yeah.
Apple has agreed to pay $95 million in a class action lawsuit alleging that private Siri conversations were inadvertently recorded and listened to by third-party contractors.
Inadvertently.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, right.
And they're not saying about things like, pick up your daughter from the soccer game. They're saying that Siri was able to listen to and monitor conversations of people having sex with each other or talking about having sex with each other.
Now it's gonna go to AI porn.
Yeah,
We've sampled all these sounds, right?
Yes, and you're going to be able to tune in someday and hear your own voice.
Yikes.
No, when you say you want something and then it shows up, the ad shows up on your phone. I mean,
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I talked about mattresses with my brother. Guess what's on my Facebook feed? Nothing but mattresses.
Right.
And so it's listening for sure. Mm-hmm. And now they're giving it, you can give it a special command to turn it on so that it doesn't automatically go on. If you have it selected to just go Siri, say the word Siri, it goes on every time your TV hears the word seriously. It goes on. Oh, bing, bing, yes. No. But Apple will pay you, if you were impacted by this, $20 each.
How do you know if you're impacted?
Well, between the time that they select here, and let me see if I can quickly scroll and find out. It gives you the dates that are included in this class action lawsuit.
But they're only going to give you $20?
Yeah, the amount.
Well, 95 million people with all the millions of people who,
and you got to fill out
I'm sure
12
there's paperwork
forms
that
too.
takes you 2 hours.
The lawsuit spans the time period from September 17, 2014 to December 31st, 2024, just last year.
No, they got me. No,
So I have one for sure. In order for Apple users to claim they're part of the settlement, they must first submit a claim, you're right, Mike, for up to 5 Apple devices. So, hey, you can, if you have your iPad or your
get
iPhone,
$100 in.
and swear under oath that it says it right here, that they inadvertently activated Siri during a conversation intended to be confidential or private. Yeah, Yeah, if I'm talking about or having sex, that's probably going to be private, and that was intentional. But oh my God! So yeah, no, it's a lot of work for just a little bit of money.
Well, and how often does the word "seri" or seriously come up when you're having sex?
Well, no.
Seriously?
There you go.
It's on.
Yeah. Hopefully not right after you unzip your pants. Seriously?
Well, what's going to be interesting is for people at home that are listening to this broadcast and have their Apple
their phone's
phone
going
on.
off.
And Siri's going off. Hey, Siri.
Siri.
You're messing with people. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, so there's some things that go on during the week that are fun. But I like to clip things out of the paper. I read a real paper.
You read a physical paper?
I read on the weekends. I read the Long Beach Press Telegram because I live in Long Beach, and the LA Times because I live near LA. But this I love, and we'll give you a tip every week if we can about something that you can do that might be a different excursion for you.
Okay.
And this one was in an article called "Honk If You Love Road Trips." And they're proposing a different road trip for every month for in the calendar year.
Don't go to PV.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Oh, there it is right there. It's recently breaking news. Yeah, avoid it. But they're giving you a plan. Like this one for January is to attend the Morro Bay Bird Festival.
I love Morro Bay.
Yeah.
That's one of my spots.
And they say the festivities include trips to Carrizo Plain, Kern National Wildlife Refuge, Oso Flaco Lake, and Point Bouchon near Los Ojos. Or you can check out Morro Rock, which is the 576-foot high centerpiece of the community there in Morro Bay, if you've ever been.
It's a really big rock.
Yeah, take a road trip if you want to. I would say probably you want to go there in January and make sure that none of the birds have the flu. That's going around too. You don't want that.
Bring a lot of little masks.
Yeah, but
they don't have ears. You can't. You put a mask on a bird.
How do you put a mask on a bird? This is kind of interesting because we'll keep this article around and give you one a month to take a different road trip. Morro Bay. If anybody goes to the Morro Bay let us know how it was. I'd like to find out more
Tell
about.
them Danny sent you.
Yeah, really, and see how far that'll get you.
Right.
And then there's tips for your well-grounded weekend. Once again, the format they're providing is once a month, something different for your wellness. And today they're talking about something that I don't know if you've ever had a chance to check out a Korean spa. Up in LA, there's the Wee Spa. And I've heard about it. It's like 5 floors, I think it is. And male and female. You can go in, you can get a salt bath, you can get a scrub, you can sit in the hot tubs.
There's a bunch in Orange County, too.
It's really great. So try to take your wellness to a different level. Yeah.
Have you gone to one? I've heard about them. I haven't gone yet.
At first, they're kind of strange, especially because you don't expect everyone to be naked in the hot tub, but they are, because that's part of the culture, the Korean culture, I gather, because the experience. And then they have co-eds for like kids and stuff. You can go in that area if you feel like you want to keep a suit on or something like that.
Oh.
But I was amazed at how water will change your day right up.
Oh, for sure.
You just get in some hot water, relax your day. Oh, wow.
I believe that.
Yeah.
It just, so you might want to try that if you're into doing something different this month for your own wellness. So there's that. And then other things going around this weekend. You had something?
Yeah, I wanted to mention that if you haven't seen A Complete Unknown, which is the Bob Dylan story, it's playing at the Art Theater.
Go to the Art.
Yep. It's a local theater that plays great films all the time, but they're playing this film. And we were going to talk about this last week. I thought, it's not playing this coming week, and it is playing.
Yeah.
They're running it for an extended period of time. It's a great film, and I hope that it brings awareness to young people about how great Bob Dylan was. That's all I can say.
And we'll play a song at the end of the show here. Yeah. We've got lined up for you. You aren't familiar with his music. Hopefully there'd be somebody out there, a new generation of folks learning about Bob Dylan.
Absolutely.
I think that's great. Did you happen, I don't listen to him, but I've clued by friends who do.
I do.
That Joe Rogan had in his podcast.
Not Joe Rogan. I listen to Bob Dylan. I listen to Bob Dylan, not Joe Rogan.
First of all, I got to say something. And I'm not a fan of his politics, but I am a fan of his entertainment value. The man knows how to do an interview and keep you listening.
Right.
And I think anybody that does this for a living, or even if you do it for fun, you can take him tips away from this guy who does 2 hours every single day.
2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, and back in July, he had a firefighter on because he wanted to praise different lines of work that were really what he called, bad A. He's a big bad A firefighter. And he had this guy on. In the middle of the interview, the guy makes a prediction that all it would take is one fire in LA to move the wrong direction with the wind. That previously in the hillsides, we get lucky because the wind blows away from the communities for the most part. But he said, and this is July of last year, he's saying all it would take is for it to go the wrong direction and it could burn straight to the ocean without stopping because there's nothing we'll be able to do about it. And it happened.
Look what happened. Yeah.
Wow. 6 months later. I'm just astounded that they knew this. And if you are a fan of PBS, watch the Frontline episode about the Maui fire. You'll learn something about being prepared in way advance. They were unprepared. Years of dry vegetation that nobody took responsibility for was responsible for why that fire burned as it did out of control.
Wow.
So, and I was thinking here, we tout in Long Beach, we're safe. We're not near the mountains. But if one person shot off fireworks off into a dry palm tree, and then suddenly the wind picked that up, we're living so close side by side here in downtown. Boy, I'm telling you, there's some old structures that
my house is one of them.
Yeah, right.
My house is over 100 years old.
Right?
Yeah,
it's going to go whoosh.
Yeah.
But so there, but for the grace of God, go we here in Long Beach, because our neighbors to the north didn't fare so well. If you know of anybody who it feels like I want to do something, you can get online and you can find out about how you can contribute. And one of the main sources to contribute to would be the California Firefighters Foundation.
There you go.
They do incredible work training people and educating people. They could use all the help they can get because, man, every dollar has been going towards fighting these fires. And most of the water in Long Beach. So if you're going to do anything these next couple of days, as we're listening to our voice right now, you can conserve water as a way of helping. You can conserve energy so that grids that are going down or being powered back up won't rob the entire LA area.
Point.
That's one thing to do.
Yeah.
So save your washing maybe till late at night when they don't need as much energy. Who knows? But those are things you can do right now.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think that's important.
One note about it, and this is kind of a left turn on the Joe Rogan thing.
Absolutely.
Is I'm with everybody. I'm not a big Joe Rogan fan. I think his conspiracy stuff is just
a little bit over the top,
insane,
and damaging,
and could be damaging. The thing is that occasionally he hits the mark, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I happened to chance upon an interview he did with Jacob Dylan, who is Bob Dylan's son.
No kidding.
And it was a 3-hour interview with him. And the reason I wanted to listen to it is Jacob Dylan doesn't do interviews. So I wanted to hear what the kid had to say. He's not a kid; he's 55 years old. But it was one of the best interviews I've ever heard. So you can count out people in certain respects, but occasionally, if there's something of interest, you should check it out.
See, occasionally you hit the mark, and eventually someday we'll do that.
Stay with us. Stay with us.
Somebody will be like, ignore all that other stuff, but listen to this.
Go ahead and take us out, Mike. We're done.
Okay, well, we're going to go out with Bob Dylan, and if you saw the movie, this whistle that you hear in the background plays an important part in it.
God said to Abraham, kill